Well, good morning. It's Monday, and that's time for a little tour and talk about the garden. On today's show, we're obviously going to take a little tour of the garden, and when we get done with the tour, we're going to chat about what we can plant in July, because July is a pretty crucial month as far as our fall and winter planting goes in the fall and winter. So and I want to kind of make a practice of each month coming on and chatting with you about what we can plant for that next coming up month, or the month that we're in. So hopefully I can get that in like the first or second week of each month. So this week we're getting in on the second week, and I actually get this list kind of as a reminder. I've got my calendars, of course, but as a reminder, I get this list from Growing in the Garden. It's someone that I follow. Her name is Angela on Instagram, and so she produces that. So you could always give her a follow in case I'm ever late with my list coming out. But so I'm gonna pop up a list for us to chat about of things that we can plant, and then I'm also gonna chat with you a little bit about what we're gonna be looking towards getting started for planting at the end of July. It's tour time, and I'm tickled to show you what's going on. Over here at this sweet potato bed, you can tell that everything is doing exactly what we wanted it to do. There are vines vining everywhere, and everything is just really taking over really nicely, and we're excited to see where this is going to go. Obviously we keep the shade on all throughout the day. We've got our pumpkin challenge bed ready to go. William was out of town on July 4th, so we're actually going to prep this probably tomorrow, and sometime this week we will film. I did some trimming on this collard, and when I did, I found that this Aussie bean has just been climbing this entire time, and we couldn't even see it. So we harvested this little baby watermelon, and I'll show you a picture of that right here. But it is still happily growing along, and this one is still hanging out. We're gonna see how big it gets. This is the butternut. The butternut that actually comes from all the way over here on this plant, and I just pulled this piece up from hanging out the front and trying to get it. Oh, I broke it a little bit, but you know what, that's me, and it's got all of that. This okra is getting huge, and then over here we've got I believe these are cantaloupes, and it occurred to me that these are all collard green seeds, but you can see from the Aussies that we planted, we've got some more coming in there. I cut back this little guy. This one's kind of looking crazy but trying to make flowers. I harvested the spaghetti squash that was right here, and I cut that down, and I moved the cage over to this tomato because it was just going crazy and it was leaning over. So just to back up, this is kind of the good view of this bed, and we've also got an Armenian coming in back there. So happy bed. We picked up this is part of a futon, but our hope is, and you can kind of see back here, I'll move this out of the way, those are the Aussie beans, and so it's not very far before they're going to be able to come through here and start climbing up the wall. And we're going to plant a couple more here, and then we've got another panel that's not exactly the same but similar that we're going to put right here. The patio tomatoes are super happy. I've been just pulling off these paste tomatoes and throwing them in the freezer. They are still making flowers though, so that's how happy they are. Of course, this cherry is still making crazy flowers. This great white is, you know, at chest level with me now, and we sliced open the one that we harvested, and I'll show you that right now. And again, I'm just kind of battling with forgetting to get the shade down quick enough sometimes, but it's not keeping this plant from continuing to be happy and produce all these lovely, yummy, tasty cherry tomatoes. See, so there's some babies and there's another one coming along right there, and you know, I never can't not take one. I still haven't gotten any flowers planted here, but I did pick up some bird baths for cheap this week, like $4. Here's my other one. It's actually solar powered, so it kind of glows a little bit at night. We're still trying to keep these little flowers limping along. We took out the 1 week sunflower. This one is, I don't know. These all still look like they want to bloom. This little one is happy as can be. And now we'll take a tour of Tomato Row. So this is one that I'm pretty sure I'm just going to let die. I don't know. I mean, it looks like it's got some new growth on it, but this was the one that was at the very front of bed 2. This Cherry Key Purple keeps kind of chugging along, and it does have, you know, a good size one in there that still needs to turn over colors. All the squashes are happy. Of course, this crazy strawberry, well, I take that back. This one doesn't look that happy, but it may have just needed some water. Crazy strawberries making strawberries. These 2 plants here, again, they've got a lot of new growth on them, like right here. So I'm just kind of trying to see how they survive, and then I'm going to pick my most favorites out of Tomato Row and decide who I'm going to keep and take through the fall. I'm about to plant an okra in this bucket. Our neighbors, like all these trees, belong to these people, but they obviously covered a great part of their yard, and they opened up this whole space this week. So that's changed. We had to move everything that used to could sit in the shade there over here. So still haven't got this oregano cut up and hung up. Mint's still happy, and the flowers are happier over here now. Bed 2 is a little happy wonderland. There's a loofah right there. This is a wild Texas cherry that just keeps growing. There's another loofah down there. That's a spaghetti, and that's a blue Hubbard. Over there on the back is a butternut that is a part of our monsoon planting. And this plant is just going crazy. You can tell it's got a lot of more flowers to come, and it goes all the way to there. So I kind of need to wind it back through. I've got another little baby Armenian down there. Bed 1 is just so crazy. Like, I keep trying to tuck some of this in to the bed, and you know, that's not really going anywhere. So I'm looking for some other structure, like a little small ladder or something to put right here, because it just keeps climbing like crazy. And if you lift this up, obviously, like, everything is just wild. I need to tie up this wild Texas cherry, but you can see that there's actually lots of little, and that's the size of cherry it makes. And now once it starts, it just goes crazy prolific. A couple of wonky Armenians. I was over here the other day, and deep down in there I found one that was huge. I'll show you a picture right here. So we cut it off and made an amazing cucumber salad. The cantaloupes are really getting there. Like, even though this is small, you can see that it's, I think these have got about 1 more week, but everything's vining out here like crazy. I'm gonna have to make some decisions, because even though I think that this needs some more time, its mother plant is just completely passed away. Like, none of this has to do with this squash right here. So some of the research that I've read said that, you know, when the plant dies is when it's ready. I know that really, according to seed age, that this should be ready. So I think I'm gonna have to make a decision and go ahead and take that out. This is a butternut. This okra is looking wonderful. This kale won't stop. Here's another butternut. Look at this. This is the other cantaloupe that I've got going, and see, it just likes about one side over here of getting really ready. So probably next week, maybe on Monday when we do our tour. And I didn't even know that one was there. That's wonderful. But even this wonky one down here is, you know, it's going ahead and it's finishing its ripening cycle. I've taken plenty of okra off this, and this is another Blue Hubbard. I think that's a Blue Hubbard, and that's a Blue Hubbard too. So this bed from this side, you can see, is about to be filling out even more over here wherever we've got the new squashes coming in along with the okra. So I'm kind of considering opening up some light just for these specific okras that want a lot more light. I did harvest this watermelon, and I'll show you that right here. Otherwise, that's pretty well going to conclude our little tour of the garden. So this is what we're looking at for July. Corn, basil, cantaloupe, cosmos the flower, yard-long beans, pinto beans, peppers, and black-eyed peas, winter squash, so that's anything from spaghetti to the Blue Hubbard to the butternut squash, all of those winter squashes, sunflowers, tomatoes, zinnias, some more flowers, shallots, pumpkins. Now the tomatoes, corn, and pinto beans, you're going to want to wait to plant all of those after July 15th. So that's what the star means. So even though you get caught up in your day-to-day and you're hot and you see some of your maybe already mature pepper plants or tomato plants struggling right now, it might be hard to think about being able to plant those, but you can't be thinking about right now, because those baby seeds actually are going to germinate like that. That by far right now is my favorite thing about planting right now, is that everything pops up in the shortest amount of time, and that's because the soil is so warm. So like I said, this is what we're looking at for July. Coming into August, once we get to about August 15th is when we can start seeds for almost all of our winter crops. We can start going in with, so August 15th is going to be the time to put seeds outside for broccoli, cabbage, cauliflower, all of those fall kind of cold crops. If you're like me, you might also even think about starting some seeds indoor, inside the house, like towards the end of July, because I'm actually going to be doing something a little bit different for my fall garden. One reason is I don't have any room to put anything in come August 15th. I don't think I'm going to have that many things die off and give me space. So we're actually creating a whole new garden just for the fall and winter garden. And for me, I'm gonna actually be wanting to go into that garden with transplants. So I'm gonna be starting seeds for that garden, like I said, probably the end of July, hopefully no later than the 1st of August, so that between August 15th and the end of August, I've got most of my first round of fall planting done. So just keep in mind that even though you might be in the phase of struggling with the heat in your garden, no worries, because the next fun time to garden is right around the corner. So if you've got some space right now, maybe throw in one of these. I'm definitely, you know, I've got a list going, but I've got sunflowers to put in, I've got zinnias to put in, and I've got some jack-o'-lantern pumpkins to plant here in the next week or so. So even though it's burning up hot outside, just remember that there still can be life that gets put into the garden for days to come. And so think about what you might want to put in the garden this month for July, and definitely start thinking about what you want to put in for your fall garden, because we're a month away from planting that garden out. So it's time to get your seeds out and bask in this extra season of growing that we get to experience. Well, I hope that you're having the best day ever, and I want to thank you so much for checking back with us whenever you get a chance. I hope you enjoyed this short little video, and that this planting for July is helpful to you. And again, I just hope you have the best week ever until we get back together next week.